We got this email a little bit ago, rad@radradio.com, from Matt.
Hey, Matt.
He says, hey, Rob, I've been told by some people that Mariupol, which is in Ukraine, was attacked with a chemical weapon by Russia. Is this true? I've only seen one article, and wow, it's badly written, thus untrustworthy. Those are the reports. The United States has not confirmed it yet. The Defense Department Press Secretary John Kirby last night said, quote, we are aware of social media reports which claims Russian forces deployed a potential chemical munition in Mariupol, Ukraine. We cannot confirm at this time and will continue to monitor the situation closely. So they're looking at various satellite imagery and trying to find out if they... And it wouldn't be surprising because Vladimir Putin just this weekend put in charge of the entire Ukraine operation a guy called the Butcher of Syria, who is known to have murdered tons of civilians when Russia was attacking Syria, and he has been in charge of the Mariupol offensive, which has been the most successful for Russia. And now he's gonna branch out because Russia's basically they pulled out of Kyiv, the capital. They are recommencing, they're regrouping all of their munitions, and the fear or the word is that the largest onslaught is still to come. So they may have upped the ante to chemical weapons.
This is still happening.
We got to do a quick edition of... Unfortunately, over the last couple of years, that hasn't always been good news, but just right after yesterday and last week, we went over the news that cases of the BA2 variant of COVID are skyrocketing in various places around the country. Hospitalizations not affected at all whatsoever.
Yay!
And I said, well, that's not going to matter to some people, those who want to cling. And yesterday it was announced Philadelphia is bringing back its indoor mask mandate.
Oh, God.
Only a month after lifting it as COVID cases once again begin to rise.
No, if I lived there, I'd say no, blank off.
COVID cases had increased 86% over the past 2 weeks, although it's nowhere near the peaks reached during the winter Omicron surge. But all indoor public places like schools, businesses, restaurants, and government buildings will be required to use masking indoors.
Dumb.
The mayor of Philadelphia, Jim Kenney, said, quote, our city remains open. We can still go about our daily lives and visit the people and places we love while masking in indoor public spaces. That's exactly what I told you. You do have your life back. You just got to wear a mask because you've all become so accustomed to it.
Yep.
Case figures, by the way, are not even considered to be a reliable metric when judging the state of the pandemic by federal officials. But here's Philadelphia going off of it. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has even changed its metrics. They did so earlier this year. They value hospitalizations over all else when recommending mask orders on certain population. But you see, it's what I told you yesterday. You can't wait. We can't wait that long. Because if we don't put on masks, then we're going to get all these hospitalizations, even though there's no indication that that's going to happen at all whatsoever. There were prominent figures, and this was the other thing I said. I said, as we get these mask alerts, because I think LA is next, because they're having this huge surge. The next thing we see is how does the public react? In a country where 75% of us say it's time to live with the virus, how many of them define wearing masks as living with the virus? Ugh. And how many of them lash back? There were prominent figures who took to Twitter to say that they would refuse to comply with the orders.
Oh, good.
However, Philadelphia residents will be asked to report any business that does not comply with the mandate to their 311 number so that you can see this. And this is the thing. Number. Nothing's changed from 2 years ago.
Jeez.
See, so now you put businesses back in the position of knowing it only takes one Karen to walk in, and the enforcement board is in your business. They might hate telling you to wear a mask, but they got to be careful.
This seems so like... why? It's done and over more than ever for me, because I'm not always perusing through the news. I'm seeing article after article. I haven't read them, but I'm seeing article after article.
Good.
I'm seeing article after article about all these studies of what COVID did to everyone, right? The aftermath of it. So to me, that even more says it's over. And here's the aftermath that we've studied. And yet here these people are going back to the beginning of what some of those studies are probably about, of how these people are going to suffer. Yeah. Of everything they found out.
But the suffering, again, in certain places, nothing's changed. The suffering is nothing because there's nothing worse than COVID. What makes you so angry at this point is that this BA2 variant is showing no signs of being deadly to anyone. even the unvaccinated, even the elderly. It's like it's a nothing burger so far, and it's been in America for 6 weeks now. It's ridiculous.
So this new mask mandate again, I feel like masks are kind of like prescription drugs. I don't know if you said this, but for some reason it clicked. It's got more side effects than it does anything that fixes it.
Yeah.
May cause depression. You're breathing in carbon dioxide.
We got this email from John.
Hi, John.
He says, once again, Rob was right. Philadelphia is bringing back the indoor mask mandate starting on April 18th, right? Because it's not the variant isn't dangerous for another 6 days.
Oh, so they're all right now.
Yeah, for 6 days you don't have to wear a mask in Philadelphia because even though they've had how many days in a row was it? Their cases are soaring through the roof. Increased by 86% over the past 2 weeks. We're going to go another 6 days. Then you're going to put a mask on because that's when BA2 is really going to get you.
Well, they called him and they said, hey, we're not going to be a problem until 6 days from now.
John says that's an interesting date because that is when the federal mandate is set to expire on transportation. I can just see it now. Dr. Fauci will start to dance like a little troll under the bridge, screaming, see, I told all of you it's not over. Then he will try and push President Grandpa to keep the federal mandate in place and perhaps to get other cities to follow Philadelphia.
No!
Please just let all of this crap be over already. Well, remember, Dr. Fauci's this is what we're going to go through over the next few months. This is the next experiment for COVID. He said over the weekend, in the exact same interview, he said, we need to live with the virus, and it's now an individual's choice, the level to which you want to expose yourself to COVID. And then later in the same interview, he said, but you got to be ready for mask mandates to come back, because that's not a choice. Because you might remember you're your brother's keeper, and you might give the virus to somebody. And on that note, President Joe Biden's newly appointed COVID-19 czar, Dr. Ashish Jha, acknowledged that extending the federal mask mandate on public transportation is on the table.
Of course it is.
Dr. Jha yesterday, who has been one of the leading scientific voices throughout the pandemic, was vague about the mask mandate, which is set to expire on the 18th. 6 days from now.
What else you got? You're not. What kind of czar are you going to be for COVID? If that goes away, then what?
The hope was that Dr. Jha has been much more reasoned over the last 2 years. I've quoted him many times through the pandemic on understanding various things that we were doing that were stupid. So he's not a politician at all, which is something they're talking about, is that he has to get used to what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And this could be nothing more than acknowledging, this would be nothing more than he doesn't want to get ahead of the CDC. Because the CDC is the one that has to announce it. Mm. So if he's in an interview and he's asked about this, he has to say that it's on the table. Because if he says, oh yeah, no, we're done with that, well then that creates a whole bunch of problems. The CDC hasn't announced it, and you're going to have problems with people getting on airplanes before the 18th. So it could be just that. It's hard to tell, but the thing you have to remember, it's an election year in November. Everybody in the House of Representatives is up for re-election, and a third of the Senate. And COVID is as political as it gets. So everybody has to consider, what do we want to do as it relates to COVID with an election 6 months away in a country where 75% of people say it's time to live with the virus, but what we don't know is living with the virus defined as I'm happy to wear a mask. That's the next thing for the citizens. Now, a Monmouth University poll released yesterday asked respondents whether they support or oppose instituting or reinstituting face mask and social distance guidelines. Overall, 62% of people said they oppose it.
Oh, thank God.
But it is completely political. 60% of Democrats support reinstituting face mask and social distancing guidelines, while only 12% of Republicans support it. Meanwhile, the vast majority of Americans, 73%, agree with the statement that it's time we accept that COVID is here to stay and we just need to get on with our lives. And that's the concern right there, is that you've got a poll where 62% say they don't want mask mandates, 73% agree this time we get on with our lives, which means there's an element of those individuals who believe wearing a mask is getting on with our lives. The poll comes the day after Dr. Fauci warned Sunday that Americans need to be prepared for the possibility of restrictions being put back in place.
Okay, I hated the masks just because I hated the masks. just me as a person. I don't like having my face hidden. I don't like other people having their face hidden. It's not normal. It doesn't work. So that makes it even more stupid unless you have an actual N95 mask. I just, it blows me away every time you read it. And I know it's been this way since the beginning, sadly. Just because you're a Democrat and your fellow, I guess, politicians are pro-mask, is that what I'm to believe? Like, what is it about you being a Democrat that you like masks? What is it about you being a Republican that you don't? Is it simply because your people on your sides are telling you so?
Yes,
right?
I think so. With
Because
the overwhelming majority, yes.
You're a person. But you wouldn't make a decision.
When you see all of these polls that have reflected that many Democrats have been asked about not wearing masks, and many of them say, "Well, I don't want to be viewed as a Republican." Because people define themselves this way. It's asinine.
Oh, it is, and I know this isn't new. I get
asinine.
it, but just every time I hear it, it just is so asinine. It's just so crazy.
Yeah, it drives me crazy wondering how many times they're going to be told, oh, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, where you just go, what is it? I don't know. I have a hard time breathing with the mask on, so I'd rather don't wear one anyways.
Okay, so honestly, I don't know. The czar. The czar.
Dr.
The COVID.
Czar. Yes,
and you specifically said COVID czar. So, like, is this position held for years, or is it until COVID's done, which it never will be? Like, what? To me, it's like having just the czar there keeps this thing going, or is there an end date for someone like that?
No, I mean, a czar can be unwound anytime that any president wants to. It would be too soon politically to not have a COVID task force, to not have a czar, because COVID is still around and there are still things about it that are dangerous to people that are high risk and things like that. At some point, if we finally declare that we are in the endemic stage, then I don't know how important a COVID czar would be at that time. But no matter what side you're on this, we've got another year of this at least as we monitor it, because we've got this surge of the BA2 variant, which looks like it's a nothing burger, and most people are acting that way, but some aren't, like Philadelphia. We got to wait for flu season, and we got to wait to see if another variant comes out in the fall, and that is stronger, that is Delta or something like that. Once you get through all of, see, if you keep getting these variants and they keep getting weaker, which is what's happened ever since Delta, then at some point it's going to be more like 95% of people are saying, okay, this is over, we're done with this, let's go back to getting colds.
Okay, so this is our job. Do you get any cool crown jewels?
Right.
Is there an Anastasia storyline that runs through this?
I don't even know if the guy has an office, to be honest with you.
He might be in a pickle cellar.
I'm so far removed from COVID, except when you bring it up on the show, that the other day I actually started getting excited that I'm like, of course I was wrong. Oh my God, I'm so happy I'm wrong. It didn't take till 2025 for everything to be basically normal, because it feels normal to me now with the things that I do, where I go, and maybe just the people I know.
You've been abused.
Honestly, it's like COVID is a thing of the past. It doesn't exist anymore. So clearly that's not the case, and maybe my 2025 is still correct. Bummer. I thought I was wrong.
Because it'll slap you in the face the first time you want to travel, because you'll have to think about all of those things. But I get it. Last week, I went to a medical facility. So it's a big building, and it has all types of doctors in it. It has eye doctors, and it has X-rays and all of that. You get the idea. It's a medical center, right? And it didn't occur to me. You still have to wear a mask in a medical facility.
Sure.
Well, I mean, so I walk in. I don't even have a mask with me anymore.
Yep, same.
I walk in and I notice there's a guy sitting in the downstairs lobby. He's got a mask on. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. I don't care. And then I walk upstairs and I pass two people and they've got masks on. And I get upstairs and I notice, everybody's got. Oh, damn it! I'm in a healthcare facility and I don't have a mask on.
But no one's freaking out on you.
So I decide to go into the office that I needed to go into. And I figured if they force me, I was only going to be there for like 5 minutes. I was picking something up. It was going to be a quick little talk, and I'm out of there. And I said, I guess if they ask me, I'll wear one of those stupid masks. I go in there. Everybody's wearing a mask. Not only was I in the lobby, I was then taken back into where all the patients are. I'm standing 2 feet away from the doctor.
Yeah.
Everybody has a mask on. Nobody ever says anything to me. I leave.
I love it.
I pass by all of these people.
Yeah.
People.
That are all wearing their masks dutifully. Doctors, nurses, patients. I get back in my car. I'm like, nobody said a goddamn thing.
See,
at a medical facility.
That's beautiful. And it made, like I mentioned yesterday or whatever day it was. Is it just Tuesday? So it must have been yesterday. At the restaurant we were at, there were a few people with masks, but it still feels like everything's back to normal. My doctor's office, I can't get away with it like you did. Once you get up and walk in the office, they'll go and hand you one, but you've already walked in and you've already walked up and you've maybe already even stood in line.
Right.
But they'll see you don't have one and they'll hand it. But when I walk in and you either walk up the stairs or take the elevator, no one says anything. You don't have to have one on. Some people have them on, some people don't. It's until you enter the office. It's like now all of a sudden.
Yeah, and so this building,
like-
you're not supposed to even enter the building without it.
Same with this one. It has the signs, but
I was blown away that, and I wasn't doing it on purpose. I just
Yeah.
literally didn't have a mask, and no one ever said anything at a medical place.
I am so opposed to masks that at this point, I'm not even going to my eyes wide shut parties.
But this is where I am. This is where it makes no sense for me. When I go to the gyno, I'm fine with putting it on in his office because I'm like, he deals with at-risk moms and babies and
Yeah.
I know the mask I'm wearing isn't helping anything, but somehow I feel like I'm helping him not put these moms and babies at risk. So it's like I don't have a problem wearing the mask in there.
Is he wearing an N95 mask?
Oh yeah, they got the good ones on there.
Then it doesn't matter.
No,
You're not helping.
I know.
You can't affect
But
it.
it's and not this thing like, oh, I'm helping, but it's like, oh, well, of course I'm going to put one on in here. Oh, yeah, I mean, you're right, yes, as you hand it to me. Why wouldn't I? They're dealing with babies.
Who are not at risk for COVID at all.
I know. But some of the moms are high risk. There's emergency surgeries that occur.
Oh, my
You know, it's a whole thing.
My best friend just had a kid, and I got to go to the hospital, and I didn't wear a mask at all the whole time. Nope, nothing. Nobody said nothing.
Speaking of the collateral damage, the most wide-ranging study into COVID restrictions in the United States to date has found that states that imposed the harshest lockdowns had the most devastating impact on the public.
Yes.
The report written by the National Bureau of Economic Research said shutting down during the pandemic was, quote, by far the biggest mistake governors and state officials made, end quote. It judged states on their economy, education, and mortality, and compiled a comprehensive list showing how they now stand as coronavirus dies down. New York, California, New Jersey, and Illinois were joined in the bottom 10 for overall performance by New Mexico, Maryland, Nevada, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania, and the District of Columbia. They were all given an F for their responses to the pandemic because, remember, New York, California, because we've done this over and over again, have the exact same death rates as Florida and Texas. However, Florida and Texas did not have economies that crashed, unemployment through the roof, etc. To work out the economic situation in each state, they looked at unemployment figures and the local GDP, and they found, that's gross domestic product, they found New Jersey, New York, Hawaii, Massachusetts, and California were in the bottom 5 and concluded, quote, the study verifies other studies which have found that locking down businesses, stores, churches, schools, and restaurants had almost no impact on health outcomes across states. States with strict lockdowns had no better performance in COVID death rates than states that remained open.
The most shocking part of everything you said there is when they said government officials basically didn't know what they were doing.
I know, it's hard to believe.
I'm so shocked by that.
I know.
I mean, because they're usually so amazing.